Hello and welcome to the show. Now for my final silly car build of Forza 6, I was thinking what better possible way to end than with some crazy rotary noise. So I'm going to be building up the Mazda RX-7 and we are going to be using the mighty quad rotor engine because, well, it is completely and utterly bonkers. It's not going to be the most powerful car by any means, but the rotary engine, this quad rotor, does always make for a exciting car to drive. Now, also, I've just noticed that with the without putting any other parts on other than just swapping the engine, the PI is 666. Fantastic. Yeah, we want aero bits. The number plate of this livery is slide. This is going to probably be quite sideways a lot of the time, really. We're going to have some racing tyres. I don't know how big are racing tyres we're going to get on this vehicle. Hopefully a 255 on the front isn't too bad. Okay, it's not the largest, but still, it's not too bad at all. And 305 on the rear, better than I was expecting, actually, on here. It might not be too terrible when it comes to traction. It's not likely to be the best out there, but again, you've got to bear in mind that this won't have 1,200 horsepower. That might help it a little bit, although the rotary does like to deposit all of its power immediately. I think about the most oversteery cars, with the exception of the Corvette ZR1, have been rotary powered. I'm thinking of the likes of the RX-3 I did when I was racing at Brands Hatch, the Porsche 944 as well. Both of them incredibly oversteery with this rotary engine. So yeah, we will see. PI wise, I don't think this is going to be getting up into P class, but I think it might be a relatively reasonable mid R class vehicle. I think we're looking at sort of mid table lap time wise, maybe getting this into the 109s. Possibly, I think. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm just looking at the times. The McLaren 570S. That we put a quad rotor in as well. So perhaps having the RX-7, well, most comparable with that. I actually expect it to be perhaps a little bit higher in this. 825 is kind of a relatively low R class for this series, but we have 800 horsepower of quad rotor fury in a relatively light, at just £2,500 Mazda RX-7. It's likely to be sideways, but if I can control it, there may be some speed and some lap time to be had. Of course, to test out the Mazda, I brought it to the Virginia International Raceway, where I will have 5 laps to go as fast as possible. As I was saying, while building this, it's unlikely to be tackling the very top of the table. The NASCAR's 1070 is looking very safe. However, seeing where this fits in, especially with the McLaren 570S, that also being a quad rotor powered vehicle, I think that might be the only quad rotor powered vehicle that's gone around the Virginia circuit. Yeah, that's a pretty tall order. Getting close to that McLaren, I shall see what we can do. Off the line, there is a lot of wheel spin, but by the time we get to third gear, we have grip and we are off up towards 155 miles an hour before jumping on the brakes. All the brakes are not as good as I was expecting. I was expecting that to get stopped a little bit quicker. Now, caution and patience is going to be the aim of the day here, I think, if we're going to get any lap time out of this. Because if I am too aggressive with the throttle, I have absolutely no doubt already. I can feel it wanting to be very sideways. So I'm just going to have to bide my time through this middle section. I'm going to have to knock that out of the way next time around. I managed to clip that one. The way that I think it's the way that the tyre bundles are. If you just clip the sign like that, it kind of gets flung out into the road, and they cause problems because when you're coming through on a hot lap, they can very easily knock you off course. I turned in too late there to try and put the power down once more. Actually, not too bad. Not too bad on power delivery. Oh, when you're in a straight line, but yeah, trying to get on the throttle through these corners is just going to slide. Okay, up into third gear. Yeah, once we're in third, we're good to be flat out. How fast will we go down this straight? It is up to 180 miles an hour, nearly. Good God, the brakes are awful. brakes are not good on this car at all. That's not going massively fast. I'll be honest, that is not going massively fast at all. Down into that. I say it's not going massively fast. It's up there with some of the other vehicles, and I'm braking at about the same point. I would only expected some of them to get stopped, that it just doesn't pull up in time. So we're going to be much more careful with that. Sign, we're going to punt that clear. This lap is already pretty gone, so that will help me out in future laps. Now this corner, we see every car oversteering, and this, I have no doubt, if I was trying to go to full throttle, would. If I'm careful though, we can manage it. Oh, it's not quite got the grip to carry that sort of speed through there. That's actually a surprise. I thought we might be able to take that level of speed. One of the difficulties I just noticed with having right-hand drive cars, really hard to turn into that final corner. You just don't see a thing, especially with such a giant pillar in the way. I can see bugger all out of the right-hand side of the car. Oh, we're on the brakes at big time. Yeah, we've got to go so early under braking there for the RX-7. I'm surprised. I wouldn't have expected it to have struggled so much under braking, and I'm trying to carry a bit too much speed. I think I'm going to be slower on the way in through that part to try and manage a little bit of understeer. Well, we're going to be sideways on our run down the hill. I managed to catch it in time, although we are a little bit out of shape. Once you go out of shape for one part of that, you're pretty much going to be out of shape for the whole lot there. Yeah, a very scruffy middle sector indeed. Now, brake nice and early for here. Get the car turned in. Oh, there we go. That's a bit more like it. It's a bit more like it. A bit better speed as well through that section. And then we kind of just guesstimate where on earth the apex is. Okay, that's not too bad through there. I actually kept it out of the puddle as well. That's an unexpected problem for the car. 110.6 this time around. I think there is definitely more time to be found with the Mazda, which would frantically try to slow it down into the first corner. Better this lap out now. Actually slow the car down enough to make it around here rather than going wandering out into the grass. Oh, just so I had to put the power down, I clipped a tiny bit of damp grass, and that is not good for trying to put 800 horsepower to the road, and then we're struggling again to carry speed down here. That's not what we want to be doing. We kept it out of the tyre bundles, but it's not a very good line through that section, and we're all out of place for that slow corner as well. Now, again, that was another scruffy middle sector, so there is definitely some time to be had with this car as we head on to the final lap, although once more we're on a curb and we're having some slight sliding issues. Right, get turned in for the final corner. There we go, a little bit of a late apex, but it worked. Now the Rotary Fury towards the line. One more lap for the RX-7. I won 9.8 that time out, and I still think there is speed to be had from this car as we jump on the brakes once more up towards this first corner. Could we see it beat the McLaren? It is going to be a tall order. Maybe if I get everything absolutely right for the Mazda here, it might possibly be doable. Again, just clipping that grass. The way that the track curves, I tried to straight line it, and we're just clipping the grass ever so slightly on the inside. I can't get turned in and carry any speed down there whatsoever. Now, we are neater, much neater this time around. I can take the line that I want to through here, although brushing the curb once more, we get some oversteer, some more wheel spin from the Mazda. Now it is early on the brakes, a nice early turning. Try to get to that power. You don't want to end up on the grass on the outside. Big stop into this penultimate corner. Kind of guesstimate as to where the apex is. I found it that time around. It's completely blind turning, leaving it in third as we run towards the line with the RX-7. Oh, it's not quite into the eights. A 19.014 for the RX-7. Pretty pleased with that final lap, actually. That's a pretty decent lap from the car. You've got to bear in mind this is a pretty damn low PI vehicle for for this challenge being only 8.25. So that is a good showing from the RX-7. It is very, very keen to be sideways, as you would expect. Incredibly keen to be sideways, and in a couple of places, it does not feel like it has a huge amount of grip with. I just can't carry the corner speed itself. There has a little bit of understeer, but just in general, I can't get it turned and carry the corner speed. But traction is pretty good. Brakes are perhaps a tad lacking, especially into that first corner, but still to do a 109.0 is, yeah, a good showing from the RX-7. It will put the car into 11th place. It is 0.2 of a second down on the McLaren 570S. Remember, exactly the same engines in those cars. I thought it'd be interesting to see how it fared. So the much more modern McLaren, only 0.2 of a second faster around this circuit. It beats the Alfa Romeo 8C, the Porsche 718, the Aston Martin Vanquish, Mercedes SL65 AMG. It does lose out to, as well as the McLaren Lotus Type 49, Alfa Romeo 33, of course, the four-wheel drive Bentley Continental GT, and the Corvette ZR1. Still, I'm impressed with that lap time. Honestly, when I saw the PI, I thought we might be struggling to get that sort of speed out of the RX-7. That was not the case whatsoever. Now, though, it is time to find out just how quick it will go in a straight line. And of course, that means heading to Le Mans. Now, as I said, the Mazda does not have quite as much power as some of the vehicles that have gone. I would not expect it to be challenging the top of the table once more. However, well, 241 is the initial benchmark estimation is pretty good showing. We're going to do 250 with this. That would actually be very, very respectable indeed. Might be asking a little bit too much. We might get close, though. We might get close indeed to a 250 mile an hour run. Yeah, that would be very nice indeed. Once we get through all of this, all right, off we blast with the RX-7. Hopefully, this will be as nice to drive in the dry. We have seen a couple of cars end up being a lot worse to drive in the dry than in the wet. The way the balance has changed them. This actually feels quite a lot better in the dry. It's very understeery in the dry, but it's quite nice and manageable. And yeah, from the low-speed corners, it's going to spin the wheels like crazy. I wasn't expecting that from the handling at all, actually. It's a very civilized car. I say very civilized. At the back end, once you're out of second gear, when you're in the more medium-speed sections, it is, yeah, surprisingly civilized. That's actually quite a nice vehicle to drive, having been built stupidly for going in a straight line. I'm impressed. Very impressed, actually, with the RX-7. On to the speed now. It's not the quickest accelerating. Interesting. About 185-ish before we left the corner. We've seen quite a few cars doing more than that, although as we're now up to 250, or 225, sorry, if we're going to get the 250, obviously this is not going to hit its aero limit quite as soon as some of our other cars. We're up to 240 miles an hour, though we are struggling to go too much faster. Come on, RX-7, please get some more speed. Would be nice of you if we could. Maybe 245. I think that very briefly flicked to 246. Oh dear. Well, that's not going to go well. Uh-oh. That got a big amount of airtime going across that kink. I tried to keep the throttle nailed. Well, I did keep the throttle nailed, but couldn't keep the car out of the fence. And then, yeah, that sort of speed is going to twitch around on you, unfortunately. Not as civilized across the bump. Can't say I was particularly expecting that, having had it be actually quite nice to drive through that opening section. It is nowhere near as civilized across those bumps, perhaps being a little bit lighter than some of the cars that have gone of late. Didn't help it. We certainly got launched big time in that one. Slid a long way down the road, sort of at a 90-degree angle to the road. Quite impressive from the RX-7. Straight line speed is not bad. I was hoping we were going to get a bit closer to that 250 mark, but couldn't quite do it, just ran out of straight. I have no doubt that it probably could, but ran out of straight, and, well, the Mon's the longest straight that I have to test it on. The 200, I'm going to say 246, I will go back and check the footage. I think it did just click over to it, but yeah, that 246 miles an hour is still good going. It puts the car into a joint 15th position with the Aston Martin Vanquish. It beats the Maserati Birdcage, the Firebird Trans Am, Bentley Continental GT. It beats the McLaren by an absolute mile. I'm actually trying to find, where is the McLaren on this table? I think it is a fair way down. I cannot find it at the moment, but it is certainly, yeah, a long way clear of that McLaren, and that's using the same engine. That's, yeah, impressive performance. In fact, considering this has got less than 800 horsepower, there is nothing on this table, with the exception of the Lotus 11, which I don't really count in these. With the exception of the Lotus 11, there is nothing with less power that goes quicker than the RX-7. So, yeah, indeed, a very, very good showing from this vehicle. In fact, I found the McLaren. The McLaren did 220 miles an hour. It's down in 45th place. So, yeah, good going indeed from the RX-7, and a pretty damn good lap time to boot, although I did get confused by the bumps at the end of the straight. However, that is going to be it for this video, guys, and indeed going to be it for this series. I will put in the description a link to the full leaderboard so you can see where all of the vehicles ended up in both the speed runs and the lap time. However, yeah, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.